The views, information, opinions expressed during the show are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Voices, the individual's employers, organization, committee, or other group or individuals. This is Voices, a space where we get to bravely share our truth, stories, experiences, and art. A ton of dope people who will motivate you, make you cry, make you laugh, bring some hope into your life, but just maybe they'll share something interesting enough to help you find your voice. Welcome to Voices. Hey guys, Lexirosa.poet here. Welcome to Voices. I'm here with Terrance Cooper.
Hello.
The founder of Family Asylum and then the co-founder of #Pray, which is People Ready Activating You. Yes. See, I needed your help.
Yes,
I didn't have my notes.
Everybody does that. It's okay. That's why we're #Pray, and it means the same thing, just the acronym, you know, so it's all good. Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so Terrance.
Yes.
I'm glad you're sitting at this table. We're lucky to have you, especially with everything happening in the world right now. But tell me about your story. How are you? Who are you? Let us step into your world.
My name is Terrance Cooper. I was born in 1977. Just
Don't
joking.
Give us your social security number.
In St. Louis, Missouri. I have family in St. Louis still to this day. My mom decided to move me and my brother to Lansing, Michigan, and that's how we ended up here. She wanted to get us out of St. Louis, and she brought us here, and she raised me and my brother on her own with the help of the church, of course. And I stayed here for a little while, and then I moved back to St. Louis, I say around the ages of 14 or 15, somewhere in there. Got into a little gang violence down there, got into drugs down there, got into a bunch of stuff that I probably shouldn't have got into.
What age?
At about 15. 15? Yeah, 15. And so it was just one of those things, you know, where you go down there and you do what you gotta do. I had a stepbrother, a stepsister, and I had a half brother that I used to have to take care of because my father and my stepmother would be gone all the time. So I'd have to take care of them. So it kind of became where like I gotta do this to like help out around the house. You know what I mean? So I would go to school, I would come home, and I would babysit. I would go to school, come home, babysit, and then when I got a chance, I'd go out there in the streets and hang out with the guys and hang out with the boys, and they just taught me all type of stuff. You know, you learn gangs, you learn all that stuff, you learn how to smoke weed and all that stuff. But when I was about 23 or 24, 1997, I want to say, or 98, I came back here for my brother's graduation. And I said, I'm never going back there again. So I decided in my mind that I would never go back to St. Louis again. After my brother's graduation, I wanted to be with my brother. Me and him were really close, and the time we spent apart was kind of hard for both of us, I think. We both acted out, kind of rebelled a little bit, and so us being back together was just the beginning of what God had in store for us and is even doing now. I came to Lansing, kind of got right back involved in the same stuff that I had learned in St. Louis, you know, doing the drugs, all type of girls, parties, everything, hanging out in East Lansing every weekend, underage, drinking, just a bunch of different stuff. Well, that landed me in prison. When I went to prison, I was 30. So we went through about 15 years of having a good run and partying and everything. And all of a sudden I got caught up doing some nonsense. I won't explain my whole case, but I got incarcerated, and the judge looked at me and she did not want to give me the time. She looked at me and I don't know what it was. It had to be God. So she went to the lowest end. I had an armed robbery charge, just to let you guys know. It was an armed robbery charge, and usually people get 7 years, 10 years to 35. She gave me not even 4 years to 35. So I could mess it up and do the 35 years, but I also could get out in 4.5 years. And my mom would always tell me, you're not gonna do that whole 35, you're gonna get out, da 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 da. So I go before the board and they let me out the first chance I got. And I was so excited. While I was in prison, I learned so much. I mean, so much more than I learned at school, more than I learned at church, more than I learned anywhere, because while I was in prison, I was open to everything. I had to stand on my own 2 feet, right? So it wasn't what everybody had taught me or what this person said was right or this person was wrong. I had to see it for myself.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I began to study everything. I began to study men, I began to study women, I began to study Moorish American beliefs, Muslim beliefs, Catholic beliefs. Just anything that I could read, I would read, and I started to learn. And out of all that and seeing everything that was happening around the prison, it was kind of like, you know what the biggest thing is? The devil was attacking families. Like the devil, he loves attacking families. So he was attacking families, and I'm seeing all these men that are so intelligent, like we were talking about earlier, but they're so smart and they have so much to offer, but they make a mistake, and you make that mistake. And in this country, we love to hang on people's mistakes.
Wow.
And so when you hang on their mistake, it could be the first time that you do something or get caught with drugs, but you're gone for 5 years. They take your freedom, and they love hanging on your mistakes. And so while I was in there, I was just like, how can I make it where I can help families, where I can help them to, help them to grow. And my mom's such a family person, and she's instilled family beliefs inside of us. And so I started to prep it. I started writing down little notes. And I'd be on the phone like, Mom, I got this idea. And she would say, hey, write everything down, write everything down.
Wow.
So I came up with Family Asylum. And Family Asylum is so weird because before I went to prison, right, and I have to tell this little story. I was playing softball in a league. It was a fundraiser. And I won a t-shirt. So the t-shirt had asylum on it, but it looked crazy, you know what I mean? And when people think of asylum, they think crazy, right? So I was like, Mom, I love this shirt. It's something about, this is before I came up with Family Asylum, anything. I love this word. I just like it. I love the t-shirt. I folded it up and put it up and everything. And she was like, boy, that shirt sounds crazy. That sounds like asylums are crazy. And I'm like, no, Mom, I like this. So in prison, I did my research. So asylum is a place of refuge. It's a place that you can go and get help. It's a place that you go and get need. The reason that we look at asylum as crazy is because that's all we hear is insane asylum, or we hear crazy asylum, or we hear this. You put family in front of it now it's family and a place of refuge. Now I have a place of refuge for the families.
For that.
Hey.
That's good.
Right? So the place of refuge, Family Asylum, all that came to me, and so I just started writing down little programs. Programs that I'm actually using now in 2021, and this is 10 years, 2011, but different things that are motivating kids, that are helping kids out and being able to do things. So when people say, how was your time in prison? Oh, I hated it. But while I was there, it made me learn to stand on my own. I couldn't call Rochelle. I couldn't call Walt. I couldn't call my dad. I couldn't call my grandmother. If there was something on the floor, I had to handle it myself. I had to stand on my own 2 feet. And it's the last thing I'll tell you about prison is you can't fake in prison for that long. You can fake it and be like, I'm a thug and I'm a gangster and I'm this, but eventually your true colors come out. It's just like life. It's just like in the real world. If I hang around you enough, you're not going to be able to fake this with me once we get so much time in. And that's what prison is, it's time. So when you're doing that time, you learn who you are. People learn who you are. And so my real self started coming out as when I was in prison, the real Terrance. I'm a really quiet guy. I'm a really reserved guy. So I started spending a lot of time by myself. I started spending a lot of time on the track by myself. You know what I mean? And so I get out of prison, thank God, first time.
Hold on, let's go back. In prison, you wrote letters.
Oh my goodness, I was sitting in quarantine, right? So I was just like so sick about going to prison. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to be gone for 5 years. Oh, and just panicking. And so I was sitting in a cell. Now in quarantine, it's like level 5. So it's just you and your bunkie. You're in your cell for 24 hours basically, except for to eat.
What?
Eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then you get 1 phone call a week and a J-Pay a week, right? So I just got kind of like, right. And I'm getting anxious. So I was like, God, what is it? So I was like, I repent for this. Oh, I repent for this. Oh, and I just started repenting. God, forgive me for this, right? And so when I get done, I feel a weight off my shoulders, and I start writing letters to everybody that I had ever wronged, that I could remember, that I had on my brain. I mean, I bought like 50 to 100 stamps to send out. And I wrote a letter to every female that I did wrong, whether it was I had another girlfriend while I was with her. I wrote a letter to my mom about not being the right son. I wrote a letter to my brother about being a better brother. Just anybody that meant something to me, I wrote it and I apologized and told them that I wouldn't do those things again and that I would be a better brother, for instance, to my brother. And that's how that whole thing like kicked it off. And that's what made my bit easier, and where I was able to become myself and open up to so much other stuff. Because like we were talking about.
Do you think letting that go helped you? Is that what you mean?
Exactly,
it was like a releasing of the old you and stepping into the new you?
I wouldn't say it was the new me. I would say it was more of me getting back to myself.
Oh.
Getting back to who I really was, who I was raised, my foundation, what I was raised under. Because my foundation, if you go back to that, you go back to Living Word Outreach Center, and you go back to church, and you go back to junior church, and you go back to all these scriptures that can help me through the things that I was going through in the world before I went to prison. So if I just would have sat on that, then it wouldn't have had to go back to the me that I was. You get what I'm saying? So it's kind of like I popped into a person that wasn't me, and then I popped back when I got out of prison, or after I repented, I popped into myself. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I popped into Terrance, who Terrance is, what's Terrance's purpose, and start worrying about, not worrying, but putting my purpose into motion, into plan. On the yard, I would talk to young kids on the yard. I would tell them about God. I would tell them about gangs, because I had been through gangs, and I would tell them that this isn't gangs, this isn't how it goes. You know what I mean? And it just brought me into the new me. And I learned a lot, because I learned from everybody. I learned from, I didn't, just because you were Catholic, I used to judge you over that. But no, I want to know what you guys know. Teach me something, because we can learn from everybody. And that was probably the biggest thing in prison that I learned, is that you can learn from everybody. The dumbest person that America would call dumb can teach me leaps and bounds, can teach me so much. You know what I mean? But you gotta give them the chance. And if you don't give them the chance, then you'll never learn nothing. Or you may not never learn that. And that could be what you need to help that type of person.
Yeah.
So learning everybody helps me to relate. Like I can go into a room with just about any crowd and I can relate. And that's the battle of the family and all that stuff. So
yeah, let's talk about the family. Yeah. So you're starting to write out these visions. And did you plan, okay, when I get out, this is my first action step?
Yeah, it's set on the burner. When I got out, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a job, I'm gonna knock off parole. I'm just happy to be out. I wanna get a wife, I wanna do this. I'm rushing to do everything. And I'm like, I wish I would've did it different when I came home, right? But I didn't, and I had some life lessons I had to learn, because I rushed. But I was supposed to hit the ground running with that. I was supposed to get out But I would take prison into the room with me everywhere. So I would be worried about telling people I had a felony, or I would be worried about, so I didn't want to present this plan to you and then be like, yeah, I just got out of prison 6 months ago. So that kind of held me back.
I didn't even think about that, like the identity when you get out, the challenge, like the stigma,
It's very challenging to go and fill out an application and just have to mark that box. That's hard. But then when they say explain it, okay, so you want me to explain it. So once you read this, you're not calling me back to come back there because you're gonna think what I did is crazy. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that, I had to shake that. One of my big homies, Charles Richardson, I love him to death, he said, Terrance, stop taking it into the room with you.
That's so good.
So don't take it into the room with you. So now I can present you with a plan, but I don't have to tell you I went to prison. I usually do because I like people to know about the change that's happened in my life. But as far as a position, and I think I'm qualified for it, I'm not gonna take that into the room. I can speak as intelligent as you want me to, or I can speak with the lingo that the kids talk with now.
Well, and I think what's so interesting is I feel like with what you do and the field you're in, if anything, I'm like, yo, your story is the whole qualifiers. Like, your story is like, yo, I actually know about how to help our youth. I know what it's like to be out there. I know, and look at me, like, I'm an example. Let's go.
Right.
Let me help you, you know? And so I think you're super inspirational, but
it's so weird. Like, just another quick story. Like, even people like drug addicts, right? I believe our system has it all wrong, right? You know, and I'm not sure how many people are like, they believe in God or Christians or whatever, but they say what you say is what you are, right? Our drugs, the system, rehabs that they have set up right now for drug abuse, they make you say you're an addict every day. An addict. So you're trying to rehabilitate yourself. You're trying to stop doing something. But I'm calling myself an addict every day. And then when you get home and then you go do those drugs, they're wondering why, but you just confessed that you were an addict for 60 days straight. Even though you didn't do the drugs, you weren't even doing drugs now, and you're saying you're an addict. You get what I'm saying? And so when I went through those parts, I would never say that. I would always be like, my name is Terrance Cooper, I'm a king. My name is Terrance Cooper, I'm a child of God. My name is Terrance Cooper, I'm this. But I would never, and they would get so mad at me, but I would never say it because I didn't want to come home and I didn't want to be an addict. I'm not an addict. You're not going to tell me I'm an addict. And anybody hearing this that has dealt with drugs, don't say you're an addict. You're not an addict. If you keep saying you're an addict or a recovering addict, then you might take a chance on going back to that because you're confessing that. Confess that I'm not an addict. If you're going to say anything, I am not an addict. I am not going back to that life. But I know I kind of got off a little bit on that. But
no, I think that's the whole point of this is to just give a voice to share stories because it's going to impact somebody.
Right. And then the family, the whole family thing is, I believe family structure is so important from top to bottom. I think a mom and a father should both be at the top, and I believe the kids and the parts that play down, all the way to grandmothers, to cousins, to everybody, I believe that we all play an important part in life, in happiness, in all that, support. Because if you got a kid that, let's say, I got a football game, okay? I got 50 people coming to watch me. Then you got that kid over there that has not one person in the stands. You get what I'm saying? And so Family Asylum is more structured for that kid. Let's find him some people. Let's put some people around him to maybe be that father figure, maybe be that mom figure if they're not there, maybe be that brother, maybe be that friend, just somewhere to talk to. It's kind of like the Big Brother thing they used to do, you know what I mean? But the difference in Family Asylum is it's for everybody. There's women out there who don't know what their next move is going to be because they gotta be with a man. They just have to have a man, right? But you don't have to. God can get you through that to the point, you know what I mean, and bring other support around you and put other support around you to where you have that man in your life already, but you're looking for something else, because God has a man in you. It might be your pastor, it might be somebody that's teaching a class, or somebody that's showing you this. Now, when it comes to marriage, that's a different boat. Then God's gonna send that. That's gonna come to you, right? But as far as a man in your life, like we use this saying. What do they say? Girls have daddy issues, right? Okay, girls have daddy issues. What does that mean? What does have daddy issues mean? Because you could have two good uncles, a grandfather, and a pastor. Those are all father figures. They're all men. You get what I'm saying? Now, the lust part and the other part and the love and the kids and all that stuff, of course that's for marriage and that's for all that. But when you go like Russian stuff, when you have it right there, you know what I mean? And that's the part that we have to realize, that family is who's around. Like, I consider you family. I consider you family. You know what I mean? I consider the people that I go to church with family. I consider every kid I mentor family. I consider every kid that I coach family. And with that, it's like, okay, now they know they have a man issue.
Proximity.
Right. So if there's not a dad in that house, I'm kind of filling that gap. We're filling that gap. Every coach out there in Lansing, every teacher out there, every man. Okay, so we don't want to hear that daddy issue thing anymore, because she's got coaches, she's got teachers, she's got principals, so don't let them confess that over you. I don't have daddy issues. That would be the first thing I said if I was a female and somebody said, you got daddy issues. No, I don't, because I got my pastor, I got Coach T, I got Pastor Kev, I got this, whatever, you know, whoever. But you have that, you know what I mean? And just like a man, we get so lonely if we don't have a woman. And for men, it's mostly the lust part. And so what you have to do is say, what about your mom? Are you forgetting about your mom? Are you forgetting about your grandmothers? Are you forgetting about these women? Like, women have held it down for so many years. So many single mothers have raised great young men for so many years. Where does loneliness come from? How can it be lonely? Now, when it's time for you to get married, God will send you that perfect person. Don't rush it, because then you'll end up in a situation that you don't want to be in. And I'm just saying, when you rush it and when you pick something and it's not right, that's not family. Like, family is us, Lex. Family, even like with us being in here, that's it's us. It's this is family. You know what I mean? We support each other. Like, if somebody came in here and tried to mess with Lex, no, that's not happening. We're right here. We're not gonna let that happen. You know what I'm saying? That's family. Family is support. Family is love, and we need to build that. We need to build that structure. Now, it would be perfect if we had a perfect husband, a perfect wife,
perfect mom,
perfect kids, perfect, and all that would be great. But that's not the way the world works. It just doesn't work that way, and we all have different issues why we don't have the prototypical family. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's
I see that you're so passionate about the family. This is why you do what you do.
Yeah. It's just like, because people don't realize it. Family is who loves you. Family is who supports you. Family is the one that checks on you. Okay, I have family in St. Louis that I might not talk to for 3 years, but I can call them and ask them for support, and they will support anything that I do. That's family.
I love that. And let's talk about why, even the impact you're making, you said it's for any age, but in particular, you're helping the youth. That's why Pray is a hashtag Pray. People ready activating youth. Yeah. And I know another thing you're really passionate about with family and with the youth is that the youth's lives are valued, and that they're not, Yeah, but they're not losing their lives. So let's talk about that gun violence that's happening here in Lansing.
Oh my goodness, it's so sad, and it all goes back to family, and it goes back to what we learn and what we do. Really, the state of Lansing, I think, and this for the world, I can't even just say Lansing, I have to say the United States. The year off that we had to take, a lot of our kids they had to make choices. That's one of my biggest things that I always present to people, choices, right? Choices, give people choices. Okay, so if you want to sell cars, if you want to do it, give them choices. If they want to play basketball, give them choices, okay? Our kids didn't have too many choices when we were on lockdown on COVID. They couldn't go nowhere, they had to sit in the house, or they had to sneak out, so they were hanging with their friends. A lot of our gun violence has just came from idle time. Idle time. A lot of the kids that are passing away were friends 2 years ago. A lot of kids that are killing each other were friends 2 years ago. A lot of the people that are passing away everybody knows them. In Lansing, you kill somebody, or if somebody dies, the whole city knows the person. So it's like you're killing somebody in your family because Lansing's so small. And the thing with the gun violence is our kids have pride issues. They have entitlement issues that we need, and they get it from the parents. They get it from us. They learned everything from us, and they want to be, I just posted something like that, but they want to be like us. Now, if I'm a gangster, that's the type of kid, that's what he's going to want to do, right? So that goes with the gun violence. So we made that life so alluring. Rap music, everything. To be a gangster, so alluring. Don't snitch. Don't do this. If somebody messes with you, this how you get back at them. So we have 1 murder. Then we have 2 murders. Then we have 3 murders. Now we're in the 20s, and we're not even through the year yet. We're almost to the 4th quarter. Yeah, we are in the 4th quarter, right? So we're in the 4th quarter, and we have record numbers in Lansing. They have record numbers all over the United States for murders right now. But it's because our kids, they don't know how to turn the other cheek, so to speak, or they don't know how to feel bad. Like if I say, you're ugly, you could have called me ugly 20 times when I was 15. I would have been like, okay, fine, big deal. Now you call somebody ugly, they're ready to shoot you. And what we've been trying to do to kind of like reverse that is get kids choices, give them more choices, give them something to do. Come hang out with Coach T, come do this, or come do this, or come do that, so that you're not spending so much time in the streets. Because if you spend time, whatever devil you feed or whatever you feed the most, that's what's going to be there. So if they're around that, and they're seeing all these guns in the state capitol, and they're seeing all these people talking about guns everywhere they go, what are our kids going to talk about? They're going to talk about guns. Now when you hurt my feelings, I'm shooting you. And that's what we're dealing with. And now it's like, once you shoot somebody, I got to shoot somebody. And then I got to shoot somebody. And then I got to shoot somebody. And I got to shoot somebody. And I was just talking to some administrators today, and it was just like, so how do we just stop this? And the kids are like, you can't stop it, it's too deep. And so that's why we just gotta pray as much as we can, and that's what People Ready Activating Youth is all about, and show our kids something else other than the street life. Because the street life is, you take one of mine, I take one of yours. Blood in, blood out. That's like all, I learned that's all gangbanging stuff. Like blood in, blood out it's, your blood or mine. And so, that's what they're living by. They have their gangs, and if you mess with one of their gang members, or if you say something about one of their one of their gang members, they want revenge.
So I feel like people listening, and even me, it's like there's some hopelessness. What can people do or be a part of? And I think your organization is a part of creating change. I am really like working on that part. Like I got a whole like proposal set up that I had set up. For the gun violence, I really need to sit down and pray, because it's like, it's hitting close to home. It's kids that I've coached. Like I've literally have pictures with
4 kids that have died in the last 6 months on the same picture. And that's hard to even talk about, but it's just, what can we do to help them? More adults. We need adults. We need more people that care, more people that want to be out there. Our city, the city of Lansing, our Lansing School District, all these places, they need to start putting money into things to help our kids to communicate better. They need to start putting things in to help our kids to have something else to do. If you don't have time to run around a gang if you got an activity that you have to go to and that you can go to and that's affordable, because a lot of the inner city kids are the ones dying. So a lot of them, they can't afford to do this or can't afford to do that. So, okay, we know the system that we've been brought up into, and I never use this as an excuse, or I never use racism or nothing, because I know too many people that have made it no matter who was racist or who wasn't. And I never use that. But there is a system that's been put in place. And so in the inner city, it's like, do you care that our kids are dying? You know what I mean? If you do, then let's start making programs. Let's start putting programs in place to help those situations. Let's get these kids out the street.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's have more adults, like football games. And I hate to use the systematic part of it, but you go to DeWitt, and I'm not dropping names. I love everybody at DeWitt. Go Panthers. But their stadiums are full. They're full. You go to one of our inner city school games and it's just a bunch of kids. And that's the thing. We need more adults. We need more people to say that they care about the kids. Yeah, more families. Like, just think, you got 11 players on defense on football, 11 on offense in football. So that's 22 kids, right? So you should at least have 22 parents out there, then the student body. Right? Some alumni, something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But when we want to pump something up in Lansing, when they want to pump something up and want a bunch of people to show up, they know how to get the stadiums filled. But you can't fill the stadiums to watch our kids, to play football, to where organizations like us are having to go and do these types of things and sit there and, be that kids, like, lift those kids up. Like, people have no idea what these kids are going through at home.
Yeah.
I do because of what I do, but you have no idea what they go through on an everyday basis. We only get them for 4 to 6 hours a day. Then the other 18, they're at home going through whatever they go through. So why are they end up in the streets? They don't want to deal with that. So they go out. They go out in the streets. Now you're in a gang. Now one of your friends done got shot. Now you're going to shoot back. But I say it boils down to all those people running into the Capitol with rifles and everybody fighting for gun rights and everybody fighting. Then they wonder why Lansing's in the shape it's in. You can't, you know what I mean? You can't show kids something because they're so brilliant. Our kids between 8 and 25 are brilliant. Yeah. They can get on Google and ask them anything they want to. They can do anything there's nothing they don't have access to. And that's all they need is a phone or a computer.
So, what legacy do you want to leave behind here in Lansing?
I want to save the world. No, I'm just joking. But I just want to save them. I want to help these kids I want them to know about buying land. I want them to know about having equity. I want them to learn about having mortgages. I want them to know that there's more to life than just sports. I want the kids in Lansing to thrive. I want, instead of us worried about the mayor is right now, I want to worry about who the mayor is in 16 years. I want it to be one of the kids that came up out of our area. I want to empower our kids. Do I still have it? It's in my pocket. But my mission statement for Pray is to empower our youth. It's to empower them and show them that there's more to it than the streets. The streets, it's only 2 ways out. It's prison or death. The only 2 ways out. Very few make it out other than that. I was blessed to make it out. I went to prison and I was blessed to make it out, and I was blessed to be here to where I am today and to be able to do and to share my story and stuff. but it's still a lot of work to be done. And I think it's going to take Lansing coming together and unifying, and adults. I can't preach it enough. Go to the schools. I don't care if your kid goes to the school or not. Just go stop by and just see how the school is doing. Fill out a volunteer form. Get up there with them. You know what I mean? And start helping them out. And we gotta support our kids. Like I tell everybody, I don't deal with adults well, because with an adult, you should know already. I shouldn't have. You can learn, and if you're willing to learn, then I'll teach. But if you want to argue and go back and forth on something that we both know is right. Now kids, okay, I can expect they may not know this, so that's why I love dealing with the youth. That's why everything I do is aimed at the youth. Yeah. Because I don't deal with adults. I love them, but I can't deal with the buffoonery, like the stuff that they like to, argue over. They just argue over. But the youth are what we need to concentrate on. And that's for everybody, because they're the future. They are the future. You know what I mean? And with my legacy, that's the legacy I want to live. That Terrance Cooper helped out this amount of youth, and his family is continuing on, my sons and my daughters, because that's what people don't understand. Is I have a 4-year-old now. He just turned 4. And I have a 1-year-old right now. When they grow up, I don't want them going through what you're seeing people right now. There you go. You're seeing right now. And so my legacy will be that it'll be changed before they get
to that age. So I think to close it out, I think you spoke to the adults, like, hey, go to a school, volunteer, maybe be a part of your organization. What do you want to say to maybe a kid who's listening or watching, who is a part of a system, and like who do they go to not be a part?
If you are going through that, if you're dealing with anything, if you're in gangs, if you're, have problems with drugs, or if you have problems with anything, you can reach out to Pray, People Ready Activating Youth, my whole church. They'll know how to get in touch with me. You can call them, and we can get you some resources. We can get you some stuff to help. We have a lot of programs that we're trying to put in place. We partner with the city of Lansing, so on Tuesdays and Thursday nights from 6:30 to 8:30, you can go to Southside Community Center, or you can go to Geyer Community Center, and we'll point you in the right direction. And the main thing is just pray. Like, it's not my name and my business for nothing. Pray. God hears prayers, and if we'll just pray, Lex, then He does the rest. And so I'll just leave it at that. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Like, it's huge, so I appreciate you.
I appreciate all you're doing. I really think you're a part of saving some kids' lives, and even adults like me who think, like, how are we using our time? How are we giving back? It's super important. So what you're doing is important. Thank you for all you're doing. This episode of Voices has been brought to you by Mountain Hope Church, Blue Owl Coffee, and Vision Success Marketing and Consulting.